I'm Roberto Lopez Rios. The journey of my incarceration, coming in at the age of 16, I didn't understand the type of emotions or things that I was going through. I found art a way to express what I didn't understand. It became my outlet, a way to escape what I was going through. If I was going through having like anxiety or something, I'll get to drawing. I'll feel better afterwards.
My name is Leticia Lopez. I am daughter of Roberto Lopez Rios. My dad used to send me artwork when I was younger. I would do the same. It was our way of saying like, I'm thinking about you, like I haven't forgotten, I love you.
My name is Toby Earl Johnson. Like several of these other gentlemen, I came into prison at 18 years old. I was arrested with 9 other people on a murder case. The state, in my sense, admitted I didn't do the murder, and yet they gave me a life sentence for aiding and abetting.
My brother is Toby Johnson. He struggled with the juvenile justice system as both of our parents were incarcerated, and then having been in the foster care systems, it was a cycle that wasn't able to get broken.
My name is Justin Stiles. I came to prison as an 18-year-old. My favorite classical artist is Caravaggio. The reason why is because there's so much dramatic contrast in light, and there's a lot of darks. And he was the first classical painter to start with a dark background and bring light to the front. I envy the artists that can sit down no matter what's going on around them, no matter what's going on with them internally, and can just focus and do their thing. I can't do that. I have to be in this right emotional, mental space in order to be creative.
Craig Paul David Dorweiler. I've done 32 years. Going to my 33rd year of prison. Department of Corrections isn't meant for people to stand out from one another or be different from one another. We're all doing time and we're all the same. But the only way we really are able in these environments to stand out is by either physical fitness or the way we do art or how smart we are in educating ourselves in education. And that is justice.
Basically learned how to do art while I was inside prison. Was one of the things that helped me kind of cope with my time and also be able to support myself. I met Antonio and Jessica after I got out. I was invited to participate in Art from the Inside as one of the artists who had come back into the community.
The show is Justice Reformed. What this means to me is to be able to look at these pieces of art by incarcerated people and to see justice from perhaps a different point of view. And to me, that's what art is all about, is to be able to look at someone's expression of an idea and possibly to see it in a different light, shifting perspectives, and hopefully to be able to apply this to our own lives, to personalize what some of these pieces mean.
Being an incarcerated person who is clearly has an intimate knowledge of the justice system, I didn't want a cliched piece of art. I wanted to take something that was dark, that had a classical feel to it. I wanted to have something that was symbolic of light because I believe an element of justice should be having a light or a hope. But I also wanted something that somebody would look at and just think, it's just a piece of art. It's just a gavel. Specifically with this piece, when you kind of look back at it, you have a gavel and a candle. The handle of the gavel has notches on it that I felt were symbolic of the score that certain elements of the justice system keep. From the time I was locked up, there was a real big push for prosecutors to get convictions at any cost. And it was a numbers game. And I felt like that's a perversion of justice. That's not necessarily what justice should mean. And so I put notches on that handle because I believed that they were keeping score.
I was asked to create something that talks about justice in the Department of Corrections. And being a man who's been in the system for going on over 32 years, done 32 years in the system, I wanted people to talk about what justice was in the Department of Corrections, what it means to have justice, what justice is in the Department of Corrections. The name of it is Balance Changed. The piece behind me is a piece I created for that purpose, to talk about what's offered in the Department of Corrections, and that is spirituality, but also education and physical fitness, and that is justice. To be locked up to commit a crime, to hurt somebody, and to come into this environment and still have an opportunity to change and make a difference and do something different. If you want to have balanced change, you need to have a balanced change of body, mind, and spirit. Too often people find it necessary to be physical fitness, work out, let's work out. How about some education? How about a little spirituality? You know, how about a balance of all those things? Once you have a balance of all those things, then you're doing something. But if you have one without the other, or two without one, you're lacking. And a combination of those things will lead to success. We're giving opportunity, you know what I mean, to make difference and make change. You know, that is justice.
When we were initially given the prompt, I tried thinking hard, like, how have I been impacted by justice? I've done 25 years now, and the guys who did the crime that I'm in for have all been home for 5 to 20 years. And so I'm like, how do I express that in a piece? And then it hit me that, like, my life isn't just pain. You know, I'm someone who's gone through some crap in life, but I have a huge story. This piece is called No More Tears. The metamorphosis idea came in, and so I used butterflies to represent the idea of transformation. I wanted a piece that depicts someone sitting kind of in a dungeon on a cement stool. It's not comfortable. It's not meant to be comfortable. And at my feet is this puddle of tears, and there's nothing left in my face.
I had never seen him do a self-portrait, so it was really interesting to see that picture of that man. It's really, that is him. Those are the tattoos that he has. It really reflects that deep internal journey that he's taken.
In the piece, you can't see it as much here, but there's a crack as it's falling apart. Our system is breaking around us, and so there does need to be some change. What role do we all play in change?
Well, there's two pieces. One of them is Chief Wolfrobe. That was one that I actually did in about 2013 in Rush City. Just a brown wash of paint and kind of antiqued the paper. And then I just used a Bic ink pen and did the portrait. Chief Wolfrobe looking off into the distance, as I felt like it represented the indigenous people that had gotten such a bad shake of things and a total lack of justice when all the outsiders from various different nations came in. His persona, his stare off into the distance, you know, is like him just thinking, you know, what things might have been like otherwise, or if there was a peaceful world to live in. The other one I did specifically for this exhibition, when Antonio first told me what the theme was, instantly these images of injustice came to my mind, and I said, oh, no, they're not going to want to see what I have to put together about justice. And he said, no, they know it's coming from formerly incarcerated people and incarcerated people, and no, they expecting it. I said, oh, okay. So it's going to be pretty evocative and pretty controversial. In the background, you see the teepees burning, dead bodies of the natives, the settlers who are attacking and manhandling women and children. One woman holding a baby, another one's child dead on the ground. Just representing all those atrocities committed. Then you have the cotton fields, old people, children with big cotton sacks, one man tied to the whipping post getting whipped with lacerations all over his back, segregated water fountains with a Klan member and a black man, modern day police brutality, you know, with a couple of officers beating a man. There's a few stats about how many tens of thousands are wrongfully incarcerated and wrongfully convicted every year. It says justice in the colors of the American flag with a question mark, and then the T is a burning cross. The main focus of it is the Statue of Liberty, but the Statue of Liberty is half black and half native. It's got the blindfold like justice is blind, but it's kind of peeking out one eye to symbolize that justice isn't really blind. The mouth is sewn shut, and it's symbolizing that justice is not speaking out as it needs to be. Instead of a torch, it's holding up a noose. It's draped with a Confederate flag. All these painful memories of the past, but I was trying to like kind of encapsulate all of them and show like, no, this is the best country on earth, and this is the best country on earth's idea of justice and all these atrocities they've committed since their inception. I showed a guy I was in prison with, and he said, oh, they're going to lock you back up when they see this one. I wasn't sure what the response would be, and I brought it over to Antonio and Jessica. Jessica loved it. Antonio, he was going crazy over it. Everybody's been really positive about it. If somebody loves it, if they hate it, if they have any kind of strong emotion from it, if it's pain, if it's whatever, joy, I feel like art has done its job.
My friend Avra suggested oh, why don't you do like Lady Justice? And I started thinking, well, how can you combine prison, my experience, hope? Lady Justice doesn't really necessarily have anything to suggest prison. Me and Arbor were brainstorming, and she said, why don't you put like tattoos on there, right? That's right, but what kind? Movements. Black Panthers, they have had an impact. The new women's movement nowadays, the Chicano movement, the Native movement. They're actually making changes. That's how I came up with this piece, to convey that message. Their laws do change. They were meant, but sometimes they need a breath of fresh air. And with new generations and things changing, that's definitely what it represents.
Giving these incarcerated folks the opportunity to express themselves, because justice is not just their crime, but justice is about what's going on in our world. And we have to try to figure out what does justice mean and how we do justice. This exhibit is just giving folks an opportunity to express that in their words with their art. I'm hoping that the public will enjoy and respect what's going on in here in his office today.
Thank you all very much for exhibiting your art in the office of the Minnesota Attorney General's office. This office is really a place where justice happens. It happens every single day. But how can we pursue justice unless we're inspired to pursue justice? And your artwork is helping us to do that. Every time anyone walks through this office and they see the wonderful art that you have created, they will be reminded that redemption is important, that creativity is critical, and that we should always pursue a fairer, more just society. So thank you all for taking your God-given talents, putting them on that canvas, and putting them up on these walls. We're grateful for it, and please keep it up.
I never thought I'd be shaking hands with the Attorney General and taking pictures with him. So somebody said, "That's the guy that locked you up." And I was like, well, I mean, not him, specifically, but yeah, I mean, I guess he was part of that.
We were asked earlier today, how do you feel about your art being in an exhibition in the Capitol building? I don't know. That art left here. It's with a different audience, and we're still here. Before these pieces left here, there was people here that would comment on the art that we created. But to see just the general public, I've never been involved in something like that. I don't know the impact of it. I just felt like I created something, and I wish I could see what the audience felt.
To be able to have this showcased at the Attorney General's office was absolutely paramount for education, like to really educate the public. There's so few spaces where someone that's incarcerated is allowed to be celebrated. There's so much shame, criticism, judgment that just comes from the incarceral experience, even if we don't know or understand how it is that someone got there. I believe it's 95% of the people that are incarcerated will come back to our community. Really to look at that and to say, no, this is the work that they've done. And that event really allowed us to really celebrate that growth, that transformation, and really their talent. Gave an opportunity to reduce the stigma.
My mom and my old Spanish teacher from like ninth grade, and then his daughter all went to the opening. They all got to shake Ellison's hand. But what that tells me is that art from the inside isn't just my voice. My family's been saying for 25 years, you guys need to fix this injustice. Like, I'm not innocent, but I didn't deserve a life sentence. To have our families starting to have some of these connections now because of this, to have a platform, especially at the Attorney General's office, it speaks on change, it speaks on metamorphosis. It speaks on art as a language that we can all speak, and it connects our families, it connects politicians, and it connects prisoners. They've used my case as one of the 4 they take to legislation this year to explain why aiding and abetting laws need to be changed for everyone. Keith Ellison is one of the deciding members of whether I'll go free or not. My case has been in front of his review board for a little over 3 years now. I get a quarterly thing saying they're still reviewing my case. And the sad part is, for some of us, the system acknowledges that knot should not have been there. But they're so worried about keeping that win that they don't fix it. Principal perpetrator of mine's been home for 5 years, but I'm a notch on a gavel.
In 2012, the federal system decided that it was cruel and unusual punishment to sentence juveniles to life sentences without parole. And that also trickled down to life with other states started implementing this thing. Minnesota kind of was refusing to do so, and they were aware of it.
He told me, I don't want the next teenager that makes a mistake to end up where I'm at. Not just where he's at, but like how it ended up impacting me and his loved ones.
In the need for that to change, and in me keeping that hope alive and trying to get out to my daughter, because she is also a big part of all this, I said, well, we gotta explore different ways of going about it because it's just not right. Why aren't they doing it in Minnesota? We started doing petitions, we started always there pushing, doing this, and we pushed for it for over 12 years, I believe, and he gained the attention of the senators, and he touched something, and I'm glad that they were able to understand where we were coming from because we were genuine about it. That it's a real thing and a real struggle that people are dealing with, and were dealing with still at that point in time. Kids were still getting sentenced to that amount of time. And eventually during the negotiation stage, they came to an agreement and eventually got it through.
In just 1 year, dozens of people who were convicted of murder as juveniles will immediately be eligible for parole because of a new law passed this session by the Minnesota legislature.
Now what this means is that juveniles will no longer be just sentenced to life. This means that there's a stage, and based on their behavior, doesn't mean that they're getting out, but if they're doing the right things and they're doing what they're supposed to, they'll have a hearing after 15 years. But it doesn't mean there's a guaranteed out either. It's holding people accountable, these children, but also knowing how far and where to draw the line. What is fair, what is just for someone that didn't know the full consequences of their actions. If an adult system is designed because of the decisions they're making and they're fully conscious of making them, then you can't hold to the same standards a child that still doesn't know, as the brain development doesn't fully get done until like 25 years old. And that's what they're recognizing, the differences in the brain development of a child and a grown man. They understand that you can't hold them to the full extent of the law that's designed for grown individuals.
And you're the first, right? Who is in
Yes.
the state, yeah?
In the state, the first to actually be released, definitely. I am, and it's amazing. I'm still trying to grasp this, but definitely first one to be released. Yes.
He's like, how do you feel? I'm proud of you, but like it doesn't seem real. And I told him it's not gonna seem real until I actually see you. For so long he's been incarcerated and now he's not. So just like trying to differentiate the two, like be like, okay, now you're not here, now you're here. Where do we go? From here is just awesome, and I'm so proud of him, but yeah, it hasn't sunk in.
We're all criminals and we all have done something wrong, and we don't want to be blamed for the worst thing that we've ever done for the rest of our lives. I know I've done a lot of things in my youth that could have led me into incarceration, but today I'm being an advocate and giving a space to figure out how we can help people find the healing that they need in order to come back into our society and to move forward with their lives.
My mom often asked me, she said, why don't you do nice things? Why don't you do landscapes and animals and stuff? And I said, you know what? Sometimes my art's dark, sometimes it's depressing, sometimes it's whatever. But I said, when I get those negative thoughts out of my head and my heart and get them out on paper, they're not rolling around in here anymore, you know? Art unlocks a whole different portion of the brain, and it's a super cathartic process. It would be so beneficial and so advantageous to get art programs in every single prison. A bunch of them, they don't have anything. I wrote a paper, article in the prison newspaper, and it was about all the benefits that studies had shown art had on inmates. Their improved relationships with their families, they're more likely to do higher education. They had improved relationships with guards, less fights, better behavior. I mean, there's so many benefits that they should put art programs in the prisons.
You know, I think that this is a bigger thing than just us having a place to send paintings to. Espinosa is involved in much more than just giving us a platform for art. I think that for people like me who have been through that hopeless phase and not feeling like anything outside of these walls or fences really cared about what was going on, to see people that are like that keeps us feeling human and keeps us feeling connected, and it's absolutely appreciated and it's absolutely vital.
Art from the inside has given me a nudge forward to say, whether it's in an exhibit with them or independently or in the treatment unit, find platforms that have our voices heard. We have voices and we're valuable in our communities and we can make a difference. A lot of us have taken up to doing different murals in the unit, but the whole goal is to change what does prison really need to look like. Creating that space to have people's voices heard and to have some healing done that a lot of us didn't do in the youth or didn't do at 18 when we came to prison. You know, what does that look like?
With this Art from the Inside, Mr. Espinosa providing this outlet, it does transform, at least it did me. And just being recognized as an artist, it does something to people. It brings back a fragment of humanity. It makes them feel like a human again, not just known for what they're in here for, but now it gives them something to be proud of. Because a lot of us get locked up and then we're forgotten. This gives us not only a voice, but it gives us also a way to reach out. We have committed some things that we're not proud of, but now we're showing a different side, you know, that we are human, we do have loved ones, we do care. We can transform, there is hope. Now with no restrictions, how is my skills gonna evolve? Where are they gonna go? What type of art am I gonna start creating? And that's something I'm excited to explore because art is part of my life. I'm passionate about it, and it's something I'm gonna continue to do.
What are you most excited about? What are you looking forward to?
You know, peace and being able to be around my loved ones with no restrictions. Living a peaceful life, something that I never had, and making my own choices, really being what I want to be, just someone living, enjoying life, finding the joy, the little things that we take for granted out there, I guess, from what I'm hearing, you know, like taking a bubble bath or sleeping on a nice mattress, things like that, you know, enjoying the morning, getting up and going out there without waiting for them to clear count or clear some security check, you know, just things like that, and being able to just be as long as I want with my loved ones. My daughter, I can't make up for all the lost time. That's gone, right? But I can move forward and make the best of it.